My name is Dwayne Parsons. I'm the manager of rate setting. Um, and I am joined by David Jorgensen, the Associate Director of Business Analytics. We have Bruce Cosgrove from our product relations team. We're also joined by Henry Eckerson and Taylor Fay from our policy team, um, as well as Dean Bugai from the Office of Behavioral Health. Dean, is there anyone else from your team that is on the call today?
Not seeing any at the moment. So we'll see who joins on. But good morning, everyone.
Um, I want to first take a minute to thank everyone for joining us today for this presentation for the temporary high intensity needs services one-to-one staffing for our PNMI programs. Um, without provider feedback and without provider engagement, it's very hard to put these models together and to make sure it's something that works for both the providers and the department um, from a reimbursement and aligned goals with achieving the services that we are looking to provide. So I really thank you all for taking the time to be here today and engage with us through this process. I think, Amanda, are you sharing the slides now?
Sure.
Can you bring them up?
Sorry, just take me a second to get back to where I was. Sorry about that. Okay, because everybody can see my slides.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So the agenda for the meeting, introductions, we just covered those. The rate determination process, we'll go through that real quick. And then we'll get to the proposed rate and rate model. Then we'll get into the next steps and discuss the public comment. And at the end of the meeting, if there is time, we'll field some questions. But it's very important to make sure that we get, the majority of questions submitted through the written comment process to be included in the responses from the department. We will not record any of the comments here today to be included in that document. So it's very important that you submit those comments in writing to the department as well. So our rate reform process is, governed by Title 22 MRS Statute 3173J. It's a standalone section of the main law enacted in 2022 that governs the principle of the rate, the main care rate system. It sets the schedule for regular rate review and adjustments. It also sets the process for annual updates, rates benchmarking off Medicare and other payers, as well as for non-benchmarked rates that go through rate determination schedules. It ensures review of relevant state and national data to inform rate amounts and payment models. It also formalizes clear and transparent process for rate determinations, i.e. public notices, public presentation, public comments of draft rates, department's public response to comments, and establishes rate system subcommittee of the main care advisory committee. It also governs the technical advisory panel, advises on related technical matters as appropriate, and reviews annual schedule and rate determinations. currently. We're having the public forum today, February 14th. You know, as far as the draft rates presentation, public comment, period. So written comments will go from today through March 4th, and then the department will work on reviewing and responding to the comments beginning March 4th, once that deadline concludes. So now we're going to move into the model. The model is based off what was done in 2021. We didn't want disparity between what is currently being reimbursed for direct care personnel and reimbursement. So it uses the same direct care hourly wage from the rate model, only it's been inflated by the same amount of inflation that took place since that model was implemented. So that way the hourly wage reimbursement aligns. It still uses the same benefit percentage information and structure as that rate determination. So all of that is the same. It also uses the same productivity adjustments. The idea with this is to bring it up to where it currently is. And then when the next rate determination is completed on the entire PNMID policy, this will also be rolled in as part of that rate determination as well. So that gets us down to the rate, which with the adjustment to the wages and the benefits and aligning with the current model, brings that rate to $35.15 a day, up from the little over 27 that it currently is right now.
Do you mean hour, Dwayne, or day?
What's that? I can't hear you, John.
I'm sorry. Did you say that was the daily rate, or is that an hourly rate?
That's an hourly rate.
Okay, I thought I heard day. Okay, my bad.
It says per day too in the model, which needs to be updated. That's actually an hourly rate, $35.15 per hour.
Hey, Dwayne, this is Dean. Can I ask if there's a projection on when the PNMID rate as a whole will have the full rate determination? Because you mentioned that this is sort of a bridge to that point, and so are we projecting when the next one will happen?
We don't have it on the schedule right now, Dean, that we've put out the draft schedule for rate determinations. So I can't, we create a rate determination schedule every year for the technical advisory committee to review. As of right now, that the PNMID rates are not on the determination for this next calendar year cycle. I can't speak to what will wind up being on that cycle, for 2026 or 2027 as part of the biennium. So I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, thank you.
But I'd like to open up to any other questions on the model. So if anyone has questions, please, feel free to speak up, raise your hand, and we'll take whatever questions you have.
Let me know if you want me to pull that back up. It's just easier for me to see the chat if there's any questions in there.
Hi, Justin Gifford here. I've got a quick question. Is this assuming that a child would need about 40 hours a week, relative to, it says cost per child?
No, I mean, this is designed to be an hourly rate for, prior authorized hours of service for one-to-one services for the members based on the PA, approval.
Understood.
I mean, the rate's based off a 40-hour work week, just to get to that hourly rate for the service. But yeah, it's not assumed that it would be a 40 hours per. It could be, you know, 16 hours a day, 24 hours a day. It's all relative to the needs of the member.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Feel free to put questions in the chat if you prefer. And then we didn't go over the housekeeping for how to raise your hand. I think most people know how to do that, but I'm going to run through it just to be sure. And then also how to do so by phone. If you're joining by telephone, you can press the *9 on your keypad to raise or lower your hand, and *6 will mute or unmute your line. And then you can use the reactions at the bottom in the participants panel to raise or lower your hand if you're participating by video or internet. Christy has a question.
Yes, thank you so much for looking at this rate. I really appreciate it. I just am curious. Sometimes, we have a hard enough time finding the staff to, meet the ratios, 1-to-2 ratio in the CSU and in child residential. And oftentimes that results in having to incentivize folks to do this high intensity staffing or pay stipends or things like that, because staffing obviously is so challenging for all of us. So I just want to mention that sometimes exceeds the rate. And also just mention that these higher levels of care require a lot of training. And so wanting to make sure that there is an adequate amount built into the rate to support anyone who may be in these positions.
Thank you. I mean, I would encourage you to submit that comment in writing.
Yeah.
Christine. I don't think we're ready to provide an answer on that in this very moment. But if you submit the written comment, we'll be happy to discuss it internally and then get a response out.
Great, thank you.
And just a comment on that, and Christy and others on the call, when you're thinking about training, is that through, an adjustment in productivity where they're going to have additional training hours, or are there specific elements that, have additional cost, for the training that aren't otherwise, kind of captured, whether it's, specific, having them enrolled in a, like a MANT or something like that, or the UKIRU, or some other types of elements that may have cost associated that wouldn't otherwise be captured. So I would say when you're thinking about your comments, think about whether it's a productivity, an additional cost, or potentially both. In that way, because I think it'd be helpful to have that level of detail.
I can't figure out how to raise my hand, so I apologize. But so a similar vein that Christy was exploring, oftentimes the one-to-one staffing need is not always something we're going to need from the beginning. It might be something that emerges or something that starts when we first admit a client. I'm wondering if there's been, and so it's hard to have a one-to-one that we hire that's just sitting around, right? Oftentimes we're kind of trying to fill that need, and that will often require us to pay overtime for somebody who is in an existing job and is filling in here. And so while $31 really feels good and better than where we currently are, if we're paying, an overtime wage to people to fill this, what we consider a temporary gap, it may not really be enough to keep us whole. And I'm wondering if there's any consideration to that.
So I hear your concern there. And I mean, that may be something we can look at. I would strongly encourage, once again, for that comment to come through the written process. I mean, some of that is offset, when you're paying overtime by the benefit percentage still being in there as applied to the rate. you know, whether or not, you know, there's additional supervision time or anything like that. I think there still may be a deficiency. We want to look at it in-house, John. But I think it's closer than it appears if you're just looking at the wage. When you're thinking time and a half, I think some of the elements in there bring that closer to being able to pay overtime. I'm not sure. I'd have to do analysis to make sure we're actually hitting a level of reimbursement that would actually allow you to cover that cost, though.
Okay.
And we have not done that. So,
Right. Thank you, Dwayne.
yeah.
As a reminder, I put in the chat that we will be posting today's recording and the PowerPoint at that LinkedIn website, the Rate Reform website. The notice will not go out until Tuesday because of the holiday, but the notice will have the instructions for submitting written comments, where to send them, all of that.
Yeah. If no one else has any questions, we can move forward. I mean, I don't want to have us just sitting around dead time. I know you guys are extremely busy, and probably could have better uses of your time. But you know, we will have the comment process. Mandy, can you bring up the slides so they can see
Yes.
that email?
Yeah. Hold on just 1 second. Oh. Is it this one you wanted?
Yes. So the official comment period, like we stated earlier, will be February 14th today through March 4th. Comments can be sent to the ratereform.oms@maine.gov website. Mandy, if you don't mind dropping that in the chat or typing that in the chat too.
Okay.
Once closed, we'll work, the department will work to get those responses out and posted to our rate reform website as soon as possible. You know, so we can work on getting the rate implemented, you know, and finishing the process. So, if you don't have any questions, any more questions today, that's fine. Like I stated earlier, you know, nothing asked in this meeting is going to be recorded with a public comment that is going to be posted to the website. So, if you could submit those in writing, we'll provide formal responses to them and have them posted on our website for everybody. And we'll hang around for a few more minutes in case there's any more questions. They'll come up.
Hey, Dwayne, I just wanted to jump in because I don't think the slides really kind of speak to this. And in terms of implementation and next steps, you know, certainly looking to have rates, you know, kind of all finalized by April 1st. And then in terms of the implementation, just wanted to flag for folks that, you know, we are looking to, you know, work to expedite this, you know, as quickly as possible. And that, you know, many times there are, you know, redeterminations done, and then there's, you know, the need to wait for rulemaking and, you know, some of those other steps before the rate will actually go into effect that you could start billing. And I think in this case, what we're, you know, really hoping to be able to do is implement, you know, as soon as the kind of redetermination process is finalized. And so we don't need a separate budget initiative, you know, at this time to, you know, move forward to be able to work toward implementing. I've set aside some general funds from my account to be able to support this, you know, implementation, right now, just recognizing that this is an urgent need, and a critical part of our system. And so we're committed to trying to, move this forward as expeditiously as possible. So we really appreciate, your time here, your review of um, the rate model. Certainly appreciate, any comments and, real specific detail that will help us evaluate, being able to finalize this rate and to be able to make it available to you all. So thank you much. Have a wonderful weekend. It's a long weekend, so hopefully you get to relax a little bit. Enjoy the snow on Sunday, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.